Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
Damn it, Mike, it's been too long. I feel like I hardly recognize you. Who am I talking to?
You probably don't. I've
Who is
gained
this?
So much weight.
Who is this speckled man in this skelly with his seemingly oversized red t-shirt on?
Yeah.
Who is that in front of me?
My oversized Flash t-shirt.
Yeah,
actually.
you have to realize, Mike, that no one can see this, so that moment of silence there was when you were showing me your t-shirt.
Yes, and I was getting it all straightened out and saying my Flash t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. Well, definitely it's been more than a flash or a blink of an eye, so to speak, since we've last met up for this Paranormally Zone podcast of ours. It is good to see you. My brother Joe attempted to fill in for your very hefty paranormal shoes to record a. I'm saying that in a positive way. I'm not saying that as a literal way.
I thought you were being sarcastic about my 3-inch shoes that I wear.
You wear 3-inch shoes. Wow, that's impressive. That's pretty
Depends
impressive.
if I just want to cover the toe.
No, Joe filled in for you last week for our long overdue episode 2. That kind of rhymed there for a very lame reason. Episode 2 of season 3 of Retro and Randoms. We finally got around to recording that again. So yeah, Retro and Randoms is again up and running. Check it out. It is available on the Patreon page, the Paranormally Zone Patreon page, that is. And Joe sends his best to you, Mike, and
I to him.
Yeah, all three of us should get together one of these days again and record an episode of anything.
We have talked about that, and I did answer him on one thing saying,
did you know,
on a post or something? I said, yes, we shall, we should, we could, we must,
we shall, we should, we could, we must. That sounds like a T-shirt saying right there. We shall, we should, we could, we must.
Yes, or we must increase our bust.
Stop. Yep, I knew that's where you're going. Okay. Anyways, no offense to all of our lady listeners out there, or male listeners with bulbous man boobs.
Well, or a well-developed pecs.
Well-developed pecs, yeah. That
it
sounds a little.
have to be flabby.
That's very true. Yeah, well-developed pecs is definitely better way to phrase it as opposed to bulbous man boobs. So yeah, we'll go with that. But again, Mike, my gosh, it's been a while, but we're right back to our nonsensical, lazy ass podcast recording ways. And I want to apologize right now to everybody if I go silent every now and then and Mike appears to cover for me. It's just because I am under the weather. But I'm forging forth, like the warrior that I am, the podcasting warrior that I am. Because we need to get an episode out. We just need to do it.
Yeah. Well,
so if my brain stumbles or my brain stumbles or my throat starts bothering me too much, well, you're just going to have to listen to Mike for a little bit. But hey, maybe that won't happen at all. Maybe everything will be hunky dory, and we shall see.
They may end up just listening to dead silence until you.
That's very true.
Mute your mic. I mean, I'll do what I can.
That's very true. That's very true. Well, there are ways. I can find out the exact length that people listen to our episodes on YouTube. It's not that hard. They give you the information straight up. So
After 10 seconds, it's like anything goes. It doesn't matter because there's nobody there anymore.
Right, exactly,
Kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've already reached that part.
I've seen that, before, yeah.
But hey, Mike, again, it is good to see you. We are the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of, hell, you guessed it, all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the one and only, I can't even think of a damn thing. I guess his name tonight is I'm Just Not Sure. Hi, I'm Just Not Sure. How you doing tonight?
Well, that's all I could think of to put on the thing there.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
On the thing.
I have called myself Wanker tonight.
Yeah.
The last time we recorded, I believe I was Bilbo. When I recorded with Joe, I was Leroy. I mean, it's fun. It's the fun part of podcasting. One of many fun parts of podcasting is labeling ourselves such silly, nonsensical names. So,
and just plain dicking around.
Just plain dicking around. Well, we're not going to dick around anymore, Mike. This is a pretty cool topic tonight. Obviously, we're going to be diving into what we are passionate about. More paranormal ghostly tales, and some paranormal ghostly tales that are fairly near and dear to my realm of interest for sure. Something that we have covered in the past under foreign names, or not foreign names, under former names of the podcast, the Alternate Route Podcast for one. We are diving into the haunting of the Titanic. I'm not sure what exactly the title of the episode is going to be, but we are going to share some ghostly / eerie and downright fascinating tales from allegedly haunted Titanic occurrences. Some of the stuff is just, I don't know. I shared an example with you last night, Mike, and I just find it so intriguing. The possibility of it being a legit occurrence is exciting to me. Then there's a skeptical part that's saying, well, such and such could have happened over here, and that easily explains this as something else. It's nothing paranormal in nature at all. But nope, I am not going to be that way tonight, Mike. We're going full-fledged paranormal on this one. We're going to play the devil's advocate, so to speak, when it comes to pushing the paranormal tonight, because pretty interesting stuff. And also have a pretty cool, interesting tale to share from my lovely, brilliant, talented niece, Chloe, former guest of the Paranormally Zone. She had another fairly recent, really bizarre and cool incident involving herself that she was ever so kind to share with me, and ever so kind to allow us to discuss it tonight on the podcast. And we are going to use that as our opening Ghost Gab segment.
Was this at home or at the
Mike,
facility?
You shall find out.
I will.
How does that sound?
Along with everybody else.
She was so kind enough to send me an email. She first texted me and said she needed to call me and tell me, because she's like, if I write it, it sounds dumb. I'm not good at writing, which is totally absurd for her to say that. It was very, very well written when she sent me the email. And I shall share that email with you.
Perfect.
Is that okay? Are you okay with that, Mike?
Well,
are you ready for some profundity when it comes to the paranormal? Some paranormal profundity.
I am ready for the most profundity that you can throw at me.
Say that five times fast. Can you say paranormal profundity five times fast? I can't even say it one time.
Say it half times more than I have already. So there you go.
Okay. Well, Chloe, I'm going to read this pretty much verbatim because you have to.
Yeah.
And no worries, Chloe. Our listeners are awesome, wonderful people. None of them will have any qualms with your writing, quote unquote, capabilities, and nor shall they, or should they, because this is perfectly written. Mike is struggling with something again. What's happening over there?
I was just trying to move in my seat. I'm fine now, thank you.
Okay, are you certain?
Yeah.
You were struggling with your lights earlier.
Yes, I'm trying to move stuff around. There we go.
So can I ask you something in all sincerity? as good friend to good friend, lifelong friend to lifelong friend. You know, we can be straightforward and upfront with each other. Why do you always fidget with all of your settings in the middle of recording? All the time you start changing stuff around. It's okay where it is. See, I'm losing my voice already.
You're getting mad at me. I don't know. Ask my counselor, and she will tell you everything you want to know.
No. I just had a coughing fit. So I also noticed, too, when I'm coughing that I have giant veins in my forehead that pop out about a half an inch. That was painful looking.
I hold back slight giggles every time I see it.
Well, I'm sure you do. As long as my nose doesn't start bleeding, I think we're okay. Okay, here goes her story. This is, no doubt this will spark a little conversation before we dive into the haunting of the Titanic topic,
Absolutely.
okay? So this is what Chloe wrote to me. She says, I was speaking with a former coworker. Okay, I'll skip a little bit here. She gets a little personal.
Okay.
We were discussing how she would release some how she should release some pent-up anger that's been building up throughout this past year. We were discussing how it would be great if she just went out into the woods to scream and swing a bat around or something to that effect. She needed to just go out there and just kind of, just have at it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I can see that as being hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
Therapeutically speaking, absolutely. Chloe, suggested that she do it that coming weekend to just finally get it all out there. She says around this time, it was around late February. So this happened a few months ago. She said no, that she wanted to wait until the 1-year anniversary of her grandpa's death, which was approaching in the next few weeks at that time. Are you following along here, Mike?
Absolutely.
Because she wanted to wait because she thought that might actually help her get through that day. Because, understandably, death anniversaries of family members, close friends, so on and so forth, they can be rough. They really can. Chloe then writes that she says, after that, I had a thought and a strange feeling about her son. And she gives out a fake name. She's like, pretend his name is such and such.
Yeah.
So
Zach.
I'm not even going to share the fake name here.
Okay.
Who I have known since he was little. So I said, I feel like you should take such and such, her boy. I think he needs it too. I think you should take your boy, take him out to the woods, and you guys need to have a therapeutic session of just screaming and hollering, maybe hacking away at something, imaginary or not, out in the woods, right? Swing that bat.
Tree.
Yeah. Well, maybe a nasty tree. We'd rather hug a tree, right?
Like a dead tree, maybe.
There you go. Chloe then goes on. She says, at this time, she was quite focused on herself, did not think much of my suggestion, and dismissed what I had said. Right after her dismissal of what she had said, Chloe goes on to say that Chloe, saw the clearest and strongest image as if I was seeing it with my own eyes, though it wasn't actually there. This image was of her former coworker, her son, such and such, shooting a bow and arrow, along with an overwhelming urge that I needed to tell her what she just saw. So Chloe had this vision just out of nowhere in her head. She had this image of her coworker and her son out shooting a bow and arrow in the woods. And she was like, I need to tell you this. So I said to her, no, I really think you need to take your son. I just had this image, this brightest image of you showing him how to shoot a bow and arrow in your backyard. Her coworker then developed a very shocked expression, and her eyes started to water. And she said, I have not shot a bow in almost 15 years. I used to compete with my grandpa, the one who had passed away. He taught me how to shoot a bow and arrow, and it was a very special thing that he and I did together. Chloe then says that she then felt an incredibly strong feeling of satisfaction, though the feeling wasn't hers. It wasn't her own. She can't explain it, she says. It wasn't selfish satisfaction. It was almost a relief. Chloe then asked her if she had ever told me that story before to see if that's why I thought of it, and maybe like it was implanted in her brain or she had already heard it, so that's why it came out. She said no. Her coworker said she herself hasn't even thought of shooting a bow and arrow for years, let alone telling anybody about it. The bummer of it is that she didn't take him when she went, and her son has been going through a hard time. Chloe goes on to say that I am 100,000% certain about what she thinks this is. And before I tell you what she thinks, Mike, this vision was about, what vibe do you get? Do you get anything from this story?
Well,
what do you think happened there?
Absolutely. I mean, there is the right opportunity of Chloe being the middle person between her grandfather and her. You know, it's just it was a, how would you say it? It was a like a psychic impression, or I don't even want to call it that, because it was almost like a direct connection that the grandfather had through Chloe, because he knew that she was going to be able to, you know, get this message and be able to transfer it to where it needed to be,
right,
and in the right way. And then that feeling of satisfaction that was not hers, that was the grandfather basically saying, "Thank you. This is what's it perfect. You did what I needed you to do," kind of thing.
That's exactly how I responded to her when I wrote back. Well, not exactly, but along those same lines.
Right.
When I responded to her email, and Chloe went on to say, she goes here, I am 100,000% certain her grandpa sent me that image because he wanted to wake her up and tell her to stop focusing on herself and focus on her son. The feeling of satisfaction and relief was him knowing he at least got that message to her. You know, that's what that relief was, because for whatever reason, her coworker had, you know, subconsciously or consciously been blocking out messages, or, you know, or who knows. And their grandpa had been trying to get to her to say, you need to be a mom here to some extent, obviously. Not that she isn't already, you know. I don't know this person at all. But it's like, this is a message. You need to get it.
Absolutely.
And for whatever reason, Chloe is a vessel here. We've talked about it, Mike, how some people just seem to be more apt, more skilled, perhaps, more prone to the paranormal. You, for one, are a perfect example. I think Chloe is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm. I would say she is, yeah.
That episode is available on the Patreon page if anyone is interested. It's fascinating to hear Chloe share some of her stories. It's like scraping the tip of the iceberg with the stuff that her and her husband and her family have experienced. Yeah, I think Chloe is one of those people that is, the dead reach out to her, perhaps, Mike.
Well,
and Chloe, I know you're listening sometime in the future, and I'm saying it in a very positive way. I didn't want to sound creepy there, but...
Well, there's nothing creepy about it. I mean, the way I feel. Seriously, yeah, she has a sensitivity to that, and and the grandfather, you know, was able to pick up on that and use her. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you thought, you kind of answered the question before I even asked it. You know, why would the grandpa reach out to her? And I just think it was, you know, it was an opportunity. Maybe spirits, Mike, are more opportunistic than we are. You know, they see an opening and they take it. You know, it's like, we've been trying to reach out to you guys and it's been failing. So such and such comes along who we can sense and we can feel may be able to help us transmit this message, and we're going to use it.
Like everything in any situation, if there are times when you need to be opportunistic, I mean, you know, it's just the way it is. They were people too, and they can still do the same things that people do.
And I mean, it's fascinating to me too, of the ability to project an image into someone else's mind.
Right.
You know, is that indeed what is going on in situations like that? Are they entering into that person's
subconscious,
yeah, you know, or are they projecting a physical image that you and I don't necessarily see? Like Chloe said, she saw an image like it was right there, like she saw it.
Right. Well,
You know?
I know how that is exactly. Yeah.
So was the image implanted in her mind, or was an image like projected, like you project an old movie on a TV on a screen on the wall back in the day? You know?
Well, projected and picked up where it was meant to
Yeah.
be picked up.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. Thank you again, Chloe, for sharing that. Very, very well written. I know she has a self-deprecating sense of humor. I know that, so she's not being totally sincere when she talks about her writing capabilities. She's a very, very smart young woman. And again, thank you for sharing that and allowing us to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike,
it was a sheer pleasure.
It was a sheer pleasure. 100%. 100%. Mike, you've known me for many moons, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Pretty much. And you think I'm the most wonderful person on the planet, right? Hey. God damn it.
You threw that laugh in before I could even respond. So
it's called
you were afraid
timing.
of what I was actually going to say, maybe.
Well, and you know that I'd like to, yeah, right. I'd like to consider myself fairly knowledgeable when it comes to all things Titanic, right?
Well, you have proven that, yes.
And you know that I have a passion for the paranormal, as do you. So if I can combine any two passions of mine, well, then, gall darn it, we're going to talk about it on the podcast. We have talked about it before on the podcast, as I mentioned earlier.
So are you talking about combining the two things like that you are really are into, like, and you're talking about the paranormal,
yes,
and hair regrowth. So just to clarify, sorry, throw that in. I'm joking because you always say how bald you are, and then okay, carry on. I've just ruined Patrick's evening of podcasting.
Chris Walken, is Mike the funniest person ever?
I don't know.
Oh, I think he knows. He take the I don't know or the I don't off of the first part of that.
Well, I have several things I could find that would be apt responses. But, not that one. I don't. I just like how that one sounds. I'm sorry.
That's
Anyways,
appropriate. Yes.
Combining the Titanic and the paranormal and ghosts. Hell yeah, that's what we're all about, is talking about things that intrigue us, that we are passionate about, and tonight is no exception. I stumbled across a story last night, Mike, when we were, kind of going back and forth about podcast ideas. We were going to go with, something along the lines of Messages from Beyond, because Chloe's story really sparked that interest as well. We're going to maybe dive into more similar stories, further stories that are similar to hers, I should say, and expand it into an episode. We've done that again in the past before. It seems like we're retreading a lot of episodes from back in the day, Mike, but it has been kind of a new start for us since we went YouTube exclusive. So that kind of freed it up for us to bring up stuff that we've talked about before. Why not?
Absolutely.
But then I stumbled across, as I mentioned, this intriguing, potentially legit, I'm not sure if it is or not, we'll talk about that, occurrence involving the Titanic, or I should clarify, that involve distress signals that were sent from the Titanic. I am going to paraphrase this as much as I can off the top of my head. Back in the day, Mike, even though I was alive at this point, I was a grand old 2 years old when this happened. Many years past the Titanic sinking, mind you.
Edmund Fitzgerald?
No.
Oh, okay. No. Which is another great story.
It is.
Tragic.
But no, not that one.
Okay.
And no, we're not talking about the ghost of Gordon Lightfoot either.
No.
Although that would be fascinating to sit down and talk with the ghost of Gordon Lightfoot. Damn. This story, Mike, that I stumbled across involved a ship known as the QE2.
Right.
And it, right.
Yes.
You know, Mike's a maritime genius. He recognized that name right away. Right?
I am
Oh,
not.
sorry, Mike. Yeah, you have to talk when I'm
I get-
hacking every now and then. You know what? I'm not going to talk about this off the top of my head. I'm going to find something to reference it so I don't butcher the story.
Okay.
I want to give it a little bit of justice, right? The brief little story goes as such, and of course I lost it here, but that's okay. No, I don't want the Queen Mary. We're talking about the Titanic here. It's amazing when you type in like hauntings and ships and stuff. Some of the same names pop up all the time. Of course,
Yeah.
why not? Queen Mary, Mike. That is going to be a destination of ours that
Someday.
comes to fruition, right?
Oh, that'd be unbelievable.
It can be done. I was looking at that not that long ago, Mike. The room, if you rent a room there, a suite, any level of, I don't know, fanciness of the rooms, very affordable. It's just making the trip there. That's
Right.
the biggest part.
It'd be worth it.
I think so too. So I'm just going to pull up the article itself that I had sent myself. I'm stalling everybody, if you couldn't tell, because I'm trying to find the goddamn thing. I want to give it justice.
Would you like to play some elevator music while we're waiting?
No, because the moment I find the elevator music, I would have found the damn story. So, yeah, buttons. Come on, say it.
Oh, nice.
All right, I found it.
Okay.
I found it. Okay, sorry, everybody. The story goes that the wireless station at Cape Race, which was in existence when the Titanic sank, the name Cape Race, the wireless station Cape Race, was heavily involved in the distress signals that were sent out when the ship was going down. Titanic fans know about the infamous message that was sent from the Titanic wireless operator when he blasted back at a ship that was not necessarily close, but
The
this other
Carpathia?
no, not the, hey, good pull though, good pull. not the Carpathia, but it was a ship that was reaching out
Oh, that's right.
for whatever reason, and the Titanic wireless operator tapped back, shut up, I am, I'm reaching Cape Race, you are blocking me, stay out, and it's because there were so many messages coming in at this time. They were being overwhelmed with a number of messages. Oh, it was a Californian. That's what it was. It was the nearby ship, the Californian, that was reaching out to, I don't remember the exact reason why, but at that moment, this was before the Titanic was in distress, but the wireless was overwhelmed with, it was a fancy schmancy new technology back in the day, Mike, and the passengers all had an opportunity to send out these fancy schmancy messages to people back on land. They had to pay their little fee to do it. Who wouldn't have done that? It was cool. It was fun. Any hoozle at the I don't know, the rough rebuttal from the Titanic wireless man. Well, guess what? The Californian operator, he decided, well, I'm going to shut off my damn wireless. I'm not going to bother listening to you if you're going to be that rude to me. And bam, clicked it off. And therefore did not receive the distress signals later on that evening because he had shut it off.
Which could have made quite a difference, probably.
Yeah. So the weather station at Cape Race reportedly received echoes of the distress call from the Titanic years later. The QE2, while passing the wreck site, strangely received the Titanic's distress call. They allegedly received a distress call on an old wavelength with the words, quote, "Come quick, in distress. Boiler rooms flooded. Ship is sinking." The operator changed to the wavelength and replied, "What is the name of your ship?" The reply came back, "Titanic." The captain on the bridge was informed of this, and the operator tried to contact the ship again, but to no avail. When the incident was logged, it appeared that the Queen Elizabeth II's position was almost the same as the Titanic's when she foundered all those years ago. And this happened in 1978. Queen Elizabeth II receiving distress signals from a ship claiming to be the Titanic. Now, it's fascinating enough to think about it as perhaps still reeling in messages that have been hanging out in the ether, Mike, which I've heard that is a technical possibility.
Right, I've heard that as well.
Maybe that's what happened. But the fact that, again, if this is true, if it actually replied to their message, their response asking, who is this? Who sent this out? And then responding Titanic.
Right, that's a direct response.
That part is what really blew my mind and really made me go down that paranormal rabbit hole, so to speak. I mean, we have other stories to share here, so I won't go on any further about that one. But what do you think about that story itself, Mike? Do you buy it as paranormal? Do you think it was just a mishap? Do you think it was messages that were legit sent back in 1912 and are still being picked up, which is fascinating in a whole entirely different way?
Absolutely. But
that response, was that just a coincidental response? Was it a ship out there that was playing tricks on people?
Well, sure, it could have been any of those. Yeah.
But the fact that they received these messages nearly directly above the site where the ship foundered?
Yeah, that
what do you
puts a
think?
lot more credence into it. I think it's paranormal. I'm gonna.
Well, sure.
If I can go to the paranormal, I'm gonna go to the paranormal. But you also have to look at everything like, could it have been somebody just joking around or anything like that? When you put it all together, like you said, where the ship went down, I mean, that's too much of a coincidence. And you're muted.
It was funny. I was totally screwed up. I thought I was not muted, or I thought I was muted, so I unmuted myself, but apparently I muted myself. So, okay, there we go. Am I on, Mike? Can you hear me now?
You are on.
All right, good. So, shockingly, you think it's all paranormal, and I'm going to play devil's paranormal advocate for this one. I want to buy into it being paranormal as well. But we know skeptics are going to say, gosh, you guys are morons. It could be any number of things. But even if it wasn't paranormal, if the other possibility of it being old 1912 distress signals are still hanging out there, that just blows my mind. My little feeble brain can't handle that sometimes, well, all the time. It can never handle it. Like, how many messages are out there, Mike? Is every message that has ever been sent in the history of mankind since this technology has been created, are they still out there? Can you find them? Are these messages? I think I read somewhere, I don't remember the exact distance, but like technically the Titanic's distress signals are like nowadays they would be reaching like Pluto or something like that, right? Yeah. They're still out there. They're still in existence. So I guess I get it as being maybe a possibility that they were picked up.
But that would be saying that that recording or that response has been bouncing around in that area for all that time, not going up, working its way to Pluto or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
What is making it stay in that area, in that direct area where the Titanic went down? Now that would have to be extremely hard to explain without the paranormal being involved. I think. I mean, I don't know everything. I could be wrong.
You don't know everything?
Of course not. I know less of anything than what you could even imagine.
Oh, you hush. You hush.
Anyway.
I mean, is it just the fact that so many people died such a tragic death there, Mike, that negative energy imprint has to still be there in some way?
Can something as fluid, no pun intended,
Oh,
fluid as water.
Yeah. Oh, no, Mike. Let's take a deep dive into this topic.
Yeah, exactly. Down so deep it'll implode your submersible. But anyway.
No, that was unnecessary.
That was too soon.
Too soon.
But anyway.
Go ahead.
What was I saying now?
I don't remember. Oh, you made a bad pun about being fluid, and then we lost track.
Oh yeah. Even with
You're
'Cause my
fidgeting
light-
with your lights again.
because my light keeps going out, and I got to turn it back on, and then I got to turn it down because it's too damn bright. Okay, now so
Mike, what you need the equivalent of a stage hand. You need a podcast hand who's standing on site nearby. No,
I've got one.
not
I've got
not
one.
your podcasting Spock doll, not that.
No, that's the Dr. McCoy that you. So
Oh, that was
graciously
Dr.
gave
McCoy.
me.
Oh, that's right. That wasn't That wasn't Spock.
Well,
That was Dr. McCoy. That was my bad.
Anyway, even with the fluidity of water
Yes.
and the ocean, can it still hold on to that energy and residual energy? Say like how they say, oh, the walls are just holding this energy and making it play all over again and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Or things like that. Is it not even depend? It doesn't even matter on the water. It just has to be in a certain area. Water is. It just doesn't matter because the paranormal can do this in any situation, any. Any.
Isn't it kind of theorized
I mean?
that perhaps even water is like almost a conductor?
Well,
like
water is a great conductor anyway, so why can't it?
Why couldn't it be for paranormal? I mean,
Exactly.
there are some paranormal investigators who claim or who buy the notion that if you want to investigate any place, anytime, anywhere, hopefully it's raining outside when you do so, because we've heard that theory before, Mike. That's obviously weather can affect the
Something
energy.
tilted. Yeah, right, exactly.
But that water as being a paranormal conductor of sorts.
But
well, what larger body of water is there than the flippin' ocean, for God's sakes?
Exactly. But if it's the water itself, the water that was there in 1912 is not the same water that's there.
Right. Of course.
Now.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean by the fluidity of it. And it's, the movement, it's, it's ever changing,
Mm-hmm.
So, where does that fit in? I don't know. More
That's a great point.
Less
no,
answers.
but well, Mike, this one thing about the Paranormally Zone, we have never claimed to provide answers. We simply talk about what fascinates us, what intrigues us. We share our opinions. Have we ever really come up with our own theories? I don't know if we have or not. I mean, we have thoughts on a lot of things, and that's what we talk about. Do we tell people to take what we have as the word? Hell no, of course not.
Would they? Of course not.
No, they're smart.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They should be doing podcasts, not us.
Yeah, we should be listening.
So that was the first example. It's an intriguing to me. Well, I should say beyond intriguing. Just, that the other concept of, is there a phantom Titanic out there, Mike? Still, it's like the residual energy of the ship itself somehow trapped, and the wireless operator is still desperately sending out messages in hopes that other ships will reach them and send help.
And over time, there have been these ghostly chains that have wrapped around him, keeping him there at the wireless.
No, you're getting a little dramatic there, but
but that's me.
And I'm drawing a flipping blank on the name of it's Jack Phillips was a Titanic. I'm just ashamed of myself. Jack Phillips was the Titanic's wireless. Californians was
Huey.
His last name was Huey. Cyril Evans. I was going to say Huey Evans because you said Huey.
About had you on that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. I hope to God I'm right. I hate it. Okay, I need to find out if I'm right or not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry.
Jack Phillips, yes. Whew, God damn it. I was uncertain there. So, what, Mike, your thoughts on it briefly about it being an actual phantom Titanic out there that's still in existence?
I mean, like Yeah,
The ghost ship.
I love it. It's why not? I mean, there can be ghosts of anything, and why not be the
Yeah.
Titanic with all of that energy that went down? That
It's like a moment frozen in time, though. It's like it would be tragic, absolutely
then
tragic.
absolutely. Then you figure too, like, okay, the ship that is still down there, it's all down there, just scattered and broken up, but everything that had a personal connection, or that somebody had a personal connection to, whether it's the clothing, the things that the crewmen had to deal with, it's all down there holding that energy. I mean, the ship itself holding that energy. The empty shoes that you see laying on the bottom of the ocean that used to have the people in them,
Yes.
wearing them. That energy is got to be from that. And I don't care how deep it is, Mariana Trench deep. I don't care. That energy from all of that's down there is going to come up, and that could be the catalyst right there.
Right
and
there.
You're going to see it right up there, right at the surface, everything, surface and beyond, I think.
Mike, that's a great segue into another one of these. I hate using the word. I overuse it. Another one of these allegedly paranormal accounts. I mean, to this day, Mike, people still claim at night, more often than not, while passing over that area where the Titanic sank, they claim to have seen orbs floating above the water.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there are lights under the water too. Now, some of that can be explained by like this bioluminescent,
Yeah, exactly.
microscopic life, and that's which is wonderfully cool in itself. I think it creates like this beautiful, bright greenish color underneath the waters, which would blow me away if I saw that. But we're talking about lights above the water too. I mean, like, almost like the classic orb, the generically classic orb when it comes to paranormal terms. That I can see as being, simply put, perhaps the residue of the spirits, Mike, that lost their lives there, that lost their physical lives, I should say.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of trying to capture in the artwork
absolutely. I think you did a great job
for the episode.
Yeah, that's Mike has been going down the AI rabbit hole when it comes to creating some really cool art stuff. And the last episode, the ghost in the closet, that was a Mike creation, everybody. So
and I hopefully anything that I may have posted AI type on any other social media, I'm not going to apologize for it, but I hope nobody's seen it that listens.
Whatever may you be referring to?
I
don't know either. Ooh,
but but it's a lot of fun, and boy, it's only limited to what your brain can come up with. It's just so awesome.
Yeah, no, I get you, Mike. Another alleged paranormal hotspot is the Jane Hotel. Now, back in the day when the U.S. Senate inquiry was set, as far as to kind of figure out who's to blame for the Titanic disaster, there was a U.S. inquiry and there was a British inquiry, and during this trial, the surviving crew members and their families and passengers stayed at the then known as the then Jane Hotel. Now, the Jane Hotel has undergone several name changes since then, renovations and so on and so forth. But this place is supposedly another paranormal hotspot where people claim, visitors, residents, people claim that they experience not only cold spots, Mike, a very, very, I don't want to say generic paranormal indicator, but potentially very powerful paranormal indicator. Lots of cold spots, but also people experience visions. They see apparitions, Mike. People ghosties, and not even just pasty white ghosties either. But we're talking the cool ghosties as well. Others have shared stories about an elevator that has slight problems, Mike, and say that it will occasionally go up and down completely on its own. Goodness gracious. Paranormal or just some shitty ass wiring or something. Who the hell knows? But yes, witnesses and guests have reported seeing transparent figures and also claim to have heard sobbing, uncontrolled sobbing, and unfathomable, that's a quote, unfathomable grief. The sounds are believed to come from the surviving crew members who were mourning their lost colleagues. So, I mean, I get that. I get that as being a residual for sure. Residual comes to my mind. These people who survived, Mike, not just the passengers, but the crew members, their lives were on the line at this point too. I mean, they were, their jobs were on the line. I mean, they're stressed out beyond belief. Anyways, they nearly died, and now people are questioning them in any number of ways. I'm sure when they're staying at the Jane Hotel, they weren't exactly in good moods. I can definitely see a very negative energy imprint being left at the Jane Hotel.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Now, as far as the transparent figures that people claim to have seen, that's a different story. I don't feel that as a residual necessarily. But that's just my first read of it. Would you think that in your organic response to this, is your feeling vibe that the transparent figures that they're seeing could also be residual, or is that something that's potentially not even related to the Titanic at all? Is this place just a paranormal hotspot, and it could be some other paranormal experience altogether?
Absolutely. I mean, look at how, buildings going back that far, especially there, it's like it's just the way it is. You have the haunting,
sure,
but God, is it even possible to tell? I mean, what it could be.
That's just the thing.
No, it is impossible, but we got to go by what feelings you get, what goes with what. Get old Chip out there. He'll tell you what's going on.
Chip Coffee? Is that what you're talking about?
The Chipster.
The Chipmeister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real, at least in this article that I'm reading, there's no real description of the transparent figures, like if they even notice a clothing type or not, that would maybe help identify like an era.
Right. Not enough detail.
Not enough detail. But the sobbing, the uncontrolled sobbing, and the feelings of grief, I mean, that would make sense of being like a paranormal imprint from the Titanic.
Absolutely.
And my feeble mind.
Well, and then if you think of the intensity of it, I mean, if you're feeling an intense, extreme emotion, and that's what the Titanic was, I'd put them together.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it several times, Mike, and we won't go into details about that, but the Titanic continued to take lives years down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
And a number of ways, suicide comes to mind for sure. It's tragic in so many ways. Now there are several alleged, again, that overused word, alleged paranormal experiences involving the Titanic's captain, Captain Edward Smith.
I tried to do an AI with just the bow of the ship. Close up with him standing on the bow on this decrepit looking, rotting away, ghosty, foggy ship with this, the white hair and beard. But it would only come up with a guy with this long, straggly,
sure,
beard, and it just didn't.
Not a nice like coiffed, well trimmed beard.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I should have used the word coiffed.
Yeah. Is that the right word?
Well, I would say coiffed, I think, but I don't.
Did I meant to say maybe? Did I mean to say coiffed? I don't know.
I could.
I probably just said a very vulgar, offensive term, and I apologize.
In Australia, you don't say coiffed. Especially when your granny's around, you don't say it.
Oh, God dang it. I want to laugh, but when I laugh, I start coughing. Oy.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I love laughter. Some examples, Mike, of Captain Smith's ghost go back to, there's Mike's doggy filling in. He always has to make his presence known, which is fine. Or her presence known, sorry. Some of the sightings of Mr. Captain of Captain Edward Smith goes back before. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Goes back to even before the world, and perhaps even those closest to him, Mike, even knew of the tragedy. Captain Smith's wife, Sarah Eleanor Smith, was in her drawing room when the door opened. She watched her husband walk across the carpet towards the window. No doubt this was viewed with some surprise because he was supposed to be sailing across the Atlantic at the time, Mike. Moreover, he never looked at her nor spoke to her. When he reached the window, Captain Smith simply disappeared. It was far too early for news of the Titanic disaster to have reached Mrs. Smith, but she knew from the moment she saw that was his ghost. She hadn't even heard of the Titanic tragedy yet, and she had this vision. Now, one might argue that if she had heard of the tragedy, then maybe in her moments of grief and despair and suffering, that maybe her mind was playing tricks on her, and she was conjuring up images as a way to cope, maybe perhaps. But no, this happened before she even heard of the Titanic sinking. She had a vision of her damn husband. Paranormal or just kind of goofy, weird? Was she dreaming? What the hell's going on there?
Well,
It's odd.
Just the whole explanation of it sounds so paranormal. I mean, coming in and disappearing and everything. And but what I question, I can totally see it being like, was it at his moment of passing that he appeared there? But what my question would be is, why did he basically ignore her? He didn't look at her. He just walked by.
That's a good question.
And then disappeared. Unless that's all the energy he had to do.
Right.
But I don't know. That's a
great question. That's a very great question. Yeah, the thing is that she wasn't the only one who had similar experiences. Women all across Southampton, the town where majority of the crew, a hell of a lot of passengers aboard the Titanic came from. Southampton is a tragic city in itself. I mean, how many of its population perished in the Titanic disaster? Right. That's a whole other story itself. But she wasn't the only woman in Southampton to be experiencing such strange phenomena. All over the city, wives of sailors and other crew members told tales of waking in the night with nightmares or hearing their names called out. There were a lot of men reaching out for their loved ones on April 15th as they sank to the bottom of the sea. A lot of women in town that night claimed to have woken up in the middle of the night, nightmares, hearing their names called out, as if their deceased loved ones were trying to contact them one last time.
Well, maybe the deceased loved ones, they're out in the middle of the ocean. They're going to a place they've never been before. So many of them. And the ship sinks and then they're lost. That lost souls, if they aren't stuck there, what are they going to do? They're going to try and go back to where they started before this all happened, maybe.
Oh, man. It's so sad, though. I mean, I'm not going to lie here. When I read that, I kind of got a little, not emotional, but I just kind of felt it a little bit, you know?
Sure.
Another place where apparitions of Captain Smith have been witnessed is at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool. The hotel has a history of paranormal activity, which, could be part of the explanation here. Is it Smith? Is it other paranormal something other paranormally. What's the word I'm looking for?
Another ghost
That's
added
not-
to the.
Yeah, we'll just put it that way. It's not Smith. It's something else. So people are confusing for Captain Smith.
Right.
Mike's getting antsy and angry with me right now because
No, I'm not.
I'm mumbling and stumbling. I apologize.
Well, that's my job.
In fact, it has such a history of paranormal activity that it was once referred to as the most haunted hotel in the United Kingdom. The Sefton Suite in this hotel, it is claimed, is an exact replica of the first-class smoking room on board the Titanic. One paranormal investigator and author claimed to have witnessed 3 men dressed as naval officers standing at the far end of the room. The man believes the 3 men were indeed Captain Smith and 2 of his officers who were aboard the liner's one and only voyage. I mean, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt on that. On stories like that, you don't know, you never know.
Right.
There is one story though, Mike. Just because we are coming up on an hour already, God damn it, we gotta fly through a bunch of these. So many of these are just trippy and fascinating as hell. One story that trips me out. In 1977, there was a man who was a second officer aboard the ship, the SS Winterhaven. His name was Officer Leonard. His name wasn't officer. His name was Leonard Bishop. He was second officer. He was given a tour to a man who he figured was a passenger. He was given a tour of the ship, the SS Winterhaven. He described the man as very soft-spoken, said he was British, extremely interested in every detail of the vessel, almost unusually so. Officer Bishop found the man to be a bit strange, not unpleasant, just a little bit odd.
He's
Now,
a bit daffy.
A bit daffy, a little bit dafty. Years later, when Bishop saw a photo of Captain Edward Smith, he realized why the situation actually felt so off. Bishop exclaimed to a friend, he said, "I know that guy. I gave him a tour of my boat." The friend then laughed at him and informed Bishop that the man could not have been the man you gave a tour of the boat to, because that was Captain Edward Smith, who died on the flippin' Titanic, you geek. No, he didn't put it that way, but that's how the story goes.
You imbecile.
You imbecile. Now think about that for a second. 1977, 65 years after the Titanic sank, was Captain Smith still being given tours of other boats? Was he out there? He had such a passion for the ocean, being a traveler of the seas. Can he just not let go of that passion even in the afterlife? And
Well,
he's kind of almost feigning being a just your average Joe given a tour, but yet it's actually a ghost.
No,
who's
I don't
checking
think
it out.
No, I think it goes way beyond that.
Okay, I'm waiting to press a reply here, so because I feel something's coming up. Go ahead.
Oh, you okay? You think whatever you want, but I'm being dead serious.
Oh.
here.
Oh, okay,
No pun
good.
intended. Or
No
maybe
pun.
I'm not. Better keep your finger on that button, Patrick.
I will. So I'm ready to go.
Okay, so what I'm thinking, the possibility, and I would love this to be an actual possibility, theory, whatever. He continues, and maybe still does continue, but at that time he was checking out different ships. He's checking out ships. He wants to know every detail of this ship as much as possible, and for part of his penance
I see where you're going.
of sinking, well, being the captain of this fatal, tragic Titanic sinking, his penance is to make sure other ships just might not go through the same thing that they did.
I love that idea. I think that's terrific. Yeah, even in the afterlife, so to speak, he almost feels obligated to do what
Right.
he can to save lives. He wants to make sure. He is paying so close attention to the tiniest of details.
Yeah,
He
that's
wants to
the
make
detail
sure
thing.
that the ships are operating at their full capacity. All the safety inspections are met. I like that idea, Mike. I really do.
Tip-top, spot, all ready to go.
Hey, I'm talking to Captain Edward Smith as we speak. You do have a white beard kind of yourself, so.
Kinda. What color is that, Patrick?
Well, you don't. It's not a full fledged. You don't. Your cheeks
It's
aren't
white.
covered in. No, you have like a goatee or whatever that, or
Yeah.
Fu Manchu or whatever the hell they're called.
Fu Manchu.
No, you don't have the cheek, the
Right.
fully
I
covered
don't have
cheeks.
the whole thing. Yes.
Oh, I need to cut that out for the soundbar too. I don't have the whole thing. That was good. There's another brief story, Mike, of an alleged sighting of Smith's ghost that took place in Belfast, Ireland, 2018. The Robinson pub is, quote, full to the brim with Titanic memorabilia. A young couple visiting the pub had a romantic picture taken of them. When they said, quote, they felt something cold on their backs. Now, after this photo was snapped, they were horrified to discover a spooky face right behind them, which, according to them, bears a striking resemblance to Captain Smith. Now, I mean, that could be any number of things. I kind of like the story, though.
It was a great story.
Captain Smith just hanging out there, and you happen to catch him on, well, I was going to say Polaroid, but that's 2018, so.
Well, Captain Smith was probably in there many times before on his fateful voyage.
I'm still I'm still wrapping my mind around your idea, though, Mike, that he still feels like he's got to do his duty, right?
Yeah,
and
it's his. Yeah, it's his torment. It's not that he was made to do this. It's like he is earthbound.
Yeah,
doing this. Yeah.
I'm looking at a few of these other examples. One of them involves some of the Titanic exhibits across, the world. And it reminded me of, they actually mentioned it here as well. It reminded me of when Bridget and I visited the Luxor during our visit to Vegas, where they had the Titanic exhibit there. And of course, we were going to visit the Titanic exhibit.
Well, you would have went there just for that sole purpose.
Oh, yeah. And we've shared this story before. I mean, going back years and years, but when we walked into the part of the display where the quote unquote the big piece of the Titanic, the giant, multi-ton portion of the hull, which was pulled from the bottom of the ocean, and now it's on display. When we got up close to that and we were looking at it, it wasn't just me. It was both of us, Bridget and I. Bridget almost more so than me. Just had this overwhelming feeling of, it was something ominous. Mm-hmm. And it was just, today I still can't quite put my finger on it. It was a feeling of sincere unease, Mike, or something that our heads got heavy. I remember that, like we felt something like a pressure or something. And it was just around this big piece. It's literally known as the big piece.
Right.
There's busted portholes there. So you can still see half the glass in these portholes, and
just think of the faces that looked out that as it was going.
Oh down. God, yeah, no kidding.
That's the kind of thing that's going to make. I mean, that energy is there. I mean, just even if it's just in your head, knowing that, and you're standing next to this piece of extreme history, and then the energy that's connected to it, it's there. But anyway, Go ahead.
But no, I can see that kind of moved you because this is a personal experience from two people who are very close to you, obviously, and right. It was a very profound experience. It was, I again, I'm repeating myself, but I can't quite describe it.
Yeah.
It was,
and I know,
and it was a feeling. It was a feeling. That's all I can say.
And it affects me because I know that, me hearing you say that, I trust you 1,000,000%, knowing that that's what exactly you were feeling. You're not making anything up there.
Oh, hell no. No, not. Absolutely not.
Just the energy and the everything that went along with that. It's
and I remember this, Mike. We wanted. I mean, I could have stayed in there forever. And I know Bridget was enjoying herself too, but there's a real strong feeling on both of our parts. It's like, we can't be here too long. We need to go away from this.
Yeah, it
Like,
would
we,
be.
you know what I mean? It's like we can't take much more of this.
I was going to
It's just weird. I'm getting the feelings coming back to me right now. It's like,
too
we gotta go.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
The intensity of it, the intensity of what that piece
Mhm.
represents, even.
Yeah. I can vision in my mind right now, Mike. I mean, how many people were perhaps clinging to that very side when the ship is going down,
Right.
and stuff, and they're sliding down the side of the hull. Yeah, who knows? It's
You know, it'd be
there's
crazy.
something there.
You know, it'd be really crazy if with that big piece with the broken portholes and everything. If there's some way you could get, well, I'm sure the people that work there, they have, well, it's moved around. They can get to the other side of it and everything.
Sure,
I would love to see somebody with one of those portholes take the size, the fitting size of a cutout of Leonardo DiCaprio's face.
Yeah.
Did I have you going?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
all? Anyway, I'm done.
And if it was up to Mike too, they would have this playing in the background constantly.
We're ghosts.
Yeah. Anyway.
See, I actually was waiting for something. I was buying into you. I was waiting for you to share something right there that was, moving and profound in its own little way. But no, you have to throw out Leo and. Anyways.
Yeah. So
that's another thing, Mike, that I remember reading earlier. Not only when they travel over the site of the sinking, not only, this is stuff that happens to this day. Not only do the reports seeing, like we mentioned earlier, the orbs, any number of things. Also, some have claimed to have heard phantom music, Mike, like the band playing as the ship went down.
Yeah, Wallace Hartley.
That just, oh my gosh. How eerie would that be? How eerie.
Well, yeah. I would love that. I would love it. You would love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that. Well, I'd love to experience it, but then, like, if you actually did experience it,
yeah,
and
just like you see the misty figures of that band, playing on the deck of the Titanic as there's just chaos all around.
Yeah,
you just imagine that. And there have been people that, like, well, speculating is, well, did that really happen, or was it, just something that a great story that somebody told? But I remember seeing, there was an interview, a very old interview of a Titanic survivor, and she said she heard and saw them playing on the deck with everybody.
Oh yeah,
and that's what they were playing.
That's
my God, to the
there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that they were playing. No doubt that they were playing. Yeah. Almost up to where they physically couldn't do it anymore. They were going to be washed over.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. It was corroborated by damn near hundreds of people. Right.
Right. Exactly.
The only thing that's up for debate is what song they were playing.
Yeah.
A lot of people, most of them say it's "Near My God to Thee." Other people claim it's another song entirely. That's the only part that's up for debate. Either way,
yeah,
it's such a testament to, like, the British mentality, especially back then, Mike. Some people have claimed that Captain Smith, back in the day, before he went down, he allegedly yelled to his crew, "Be British, gentlemen, be British, be British crew," or whatever he said. It's, I mean, we're going on 100, well, my math skills now, 113 years since this happened. 113 years ago since the Titanic sank. And we're still talking about it today.
Well, it always will be.
It always will be.
One of those
absolutely
things,
always will be. Coming up. God darn it, we like barely scraped the surface here. We're at an hour and 10. Shit. I don't know if we'll have enough to do a part 2 of this one, Mike, or if we should. Are you good, or you have to you're getting fidgety? I don't want to keep you and make you uncomfortable. We could take a break.
Yeah, let's just take a quick one.
I forgot that we could do that. We do have
Yes,
the
we
capability of
can.
taking breaks. Oh man, yay! We can take time traveling excursions yet again.
Yes.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, if we do that, then I'm really good.
All right, we're going to take a time traveling excursion, everybody, and we're going to wrap up the episode on a bang, right? On a high note, or not, or we'll make people wonder. I wish they didn't come back, or we'll make people wonder why we did come back and all that.
Don't bother.
Don't bother. We heard enough about it. Titanic. We're tired of it. All right, I'm just trying to find something interesting to play here. All right, Mike, transition time. We are time traveling, and we shall be right back. Okay, we have returned from yet another successful time traveling excursion. Mike, one thing I want to share very briefly is the idea of kind of to continue what I was talking about upon sharing the experiences that Bridget and I had while at the Luxor, at the big piece. That's not an odd thing, air quotes, to share, considering all of the other stories that you hear of people experiencing paranormal activity at such exhibits. And we're talking about, for tonight's topic, we're talking about like Titanic exhibits all across, the world, essentially. I believe the Ghost Adventures crew had an episode where they investigated a Titanic exhibit. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but there is something going on there, Mike, apparently, of these locales, these exhibits being, quote unquote, haunted. Do you buy into that? And if so, why?
Well, every piece of that ship is going to have energy connected to it with this whole tragedy. That's what I think, no matter how big or small it is.
Absolutely.
And then plus when you get these huge pieces and vast collections of things that they brought up, that's a lot of energy concentrated into one spot.
Do you, Mike, where do you sit on that fence about retrieving artifacts from the bottom of the ocean? Do you find it as desecration of a final resting spot, or you find it as preservation of history and, preserving family heirlooms, or any number of, different things, any other different arguments towards the salvation, the preservation of such artifacts? I am pro salvaging whatever you can.
Yeah, there's salvaging to the point of where you're getting, historical artifacts, personal things. That's kind of a different thing. I mean, like you said, the family, preserving family historical items like that. That's I can see that as well, but it's got to be set to. I think it would have to be set to a certain type of artifact, and there's some things that you just leave alone.
Kind of a fine line needs to be drawn somewhere.
Right, like the shoes that you see laying down there.
It's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. It's. I understand arguments from both sides. I really do, but I am definitely pro trying to preserve as much as you can, because it's all going to be gone. I mean, the ship itself is going to be gone.
Fast.
And I might be speaking selfishly, just being a person who's so fascinated with the story and the ship. Maybe I'm being simply selfish, but I say salvage as much as you can when you can, because it's going to be gone, and then people are going to say, "Well, why didn't you grab it when you had a chance?"
Yeah, I think if there were certain objects that they could try and target, like certain ship parts, something like from
100%, yeah.
If there's something from like the on the deck, the bridge or whatever.
I
don't know what's all available to reach at that depth, or what's gone already, but
I mean, imagine, I know it would have been very difficult to do it, but if it was I mean, like 25 years ago, I believe like the crow's nest was still there, but since then the crow's nest has disappeared and it's
Right.
gone. Can you imagine having, the ability and the potential of salvaging that, preserving that, so to speak?
Yeah.
When it comes to artifacts like, silverware or bottles of beer, who the heck cares? I mean, that's not being personally offensive to anybody. And you're not grave robbing in my mind.
Yeah, like White Star Line, China or something,
Yeah, so yeah, you make a good point. I mean, when it comes to the really personal, you definitely have to, get in touch with, if you want to do something like that, you have to go about it the right way. You have to get the family approval and, and rightfully so, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and now if they would have gotten there for the crow's nest, I bet you one thing they wouldn't have found in it is the pair of binoculars.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have them. Weren't they like locked up or something? Or
sounds like you're mocking their failures, Mike.
No,
exactly.
I'm
Computer
not.
Mike agrees with me.
I'm not mocking. It's just that. Well, it's a
This
fact.
this was what Mike would have done if he was in the crow's nest. This would have been his reaction. That's all he would have done.
Yeah.
He would have called the bridge. It's like, tell us, what do you see? Well, what does that mean? And then by the time he would have crashed with the iceberg.
And then as soon as it crashed, you feel that little bump into the iceberg. I go, that's enough of that. And then I'd be done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to mute every now and then because Mike's sick sense of humor makes me cough.
Well,
anyways. Yeah, I had another. You laid out a really good opportunity for me to put forth a terrible joke myself, but I'm going to.
It back?
I'm pulling it back. Yes. So
well,
not going to go there, at least for now.
Make me feel bad.
No, as I think, Mike, as far as the binoculars go, the glasses as they were referred to.
Yes, the glasses.
The story goes. Now, let me get this straight. They were, in fact, locked in a box that the key was not available to. They did not have a key to unlock this glasses box so they couldn't get to the damn thing. The key was, I believe, somehow got mixed up right before the ship took off. Mike, they had a crew change. They shipped out, they switched some of the officers from one. It might have been the Olympic. I don't remember exactly. They switched a couple. Like the first officer on the Titanic was he was then, or the sixth officer from the Titanic. He then became like the fifth officer on the Olympic, or what. I'm getting it mixed up, but you get what I'm saying. And so during that switch, whomever had that key ended up not being on the damn Titanic. And so they couldn't open up the flipping glasses box. I mean, my gosh.
I would have broke it.
Yeah, I know, right.
I don't know. Whatever.
Now, Mike, some of these tales are, all of them are fascinating in so many different ways. What do you think about this one? This is more of a premonition type of a haunting. This happened back in the day, Mike. This happened on April 14th, 1912. And it involves a young girl. And it involves dreams. It involves a vision in a dream. Now, the story goes, a young girl named Jessie, who unfortunately was herself dying of an illness. She was lying in bed in a Scottish orphanage. This was April 14th, 1912. Now, as she was comforted by members of the Salvation Army who had cared for her for years, she began vividly and tearfully describing a massive ship sinking in the North Atlantic right before her very eyes, with hundreds of people drowning, and, quote, someone called Wally playing a fiddle.
Wally.
Many of the events relayed by Jessie were, and I said, Mike, God damn it, why'd you have to say it like that?
It was a good show. I liked the movie. Anyway.
We're ghosts.
So, yeah, not that Wall-E, Well, no, of course we're talking about one Wallace Hartley. That this little girl she referred to as Wally, someone named Wally playing a fiddle. Now, was this a true premonition that this girl was experiencing? I mean, how coincidental would it have been if this was totally unrelated to the Titanic disaster?
If it really happened, there's no way that would have been too much to be a coincidence there.
And you also, Mike, hear these stories about, and I apologize for not having the exact details. It's been a long time, but in recent memory, within the last decade or so, I recall watching a program on the Titanic, and one portion of it involved a young boy who had an unbelievable fascination with this ship. He was like 4, just this little kid, and he had like an encyclopedic knowledge of the Titanic. His parents had never even brought up the Titanic to this kid, but he had a natural fascination with it, a natural knowledge of it. And if I recall correctly, he would draw the ship, just out of what appeared to be just memory with just exquisite detail. This is like a 4-year-old who's doing this. And he talks about it as if he just knew this ship, Mike. Is that paranormal in nature? I mean, what is going on in stories or occurrences such as that? Is that someone who perhaps maybe experienced the sinking back in the day and now is reborn again inside this little boy?
Well, you think of that right away, reincarnation, if you believe in that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Amazing.
I'm sorry that that little boy story didn't involve someone named Wally, so you could throw out a lame joke again. See, Mike seems to have derailed himself here. I've shared 2 really cool stories, and he's just staring at me blankly, boys and girls.
They're great stories, and I'm very appreciative.
Are you?
Yes.
Sorry, coughing fit.
Okay, yeah.
Woo! Let's see, the follow-up. We had mentioned some of the very tragic occurrences of suicide. I believe the number is like 5%, Mike, of the male survivors of the Titanic wreck. 5% eventually committed suicide.
Yeah.
One of them was Dr. I'm sorry, what's that?
I was gonna say, probably a lot of survivors' guilt, or just couldn't handle the trauma that they went through surviving it even.
Mm-hmm. And the norms of the day too, Mike. I mean, if you were a male and you happened to survive when women and children had perished, you were just lambasted as a coward.
Exactly.
Even though a lot of them had no choice. I mean, a lot of women refused to leave their husbands on the ship. It was such a tragedy in so many ways. They thought they were safer on board the ship while it was sinking.
Yeah.
Another ghostly example comes from one of those tragic suicide stories involving Dr. Washington Dodge, a man who actually 7 years after the sinking, Mike, shot himself in the head. And if I recall correctly, he shot himself in an elevator shaft. And he was still alive, but his body was discovered when the elevator opened up on the bottom floor, and there he lay in a pool of his own blood, to die sometimes later. But his ghost is alleged to have still be seen and roaming the halls of the area, the locale of his death. Tragic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When you think about stories of, for example, Mike, of Captain Smith, just tonight we shared several Captain Smith allegedly true paranormal stories where he's been seen all over the place.
Right.
His spirit, his ghost has been seen all over the place. Now, we've talked about how many times of how time doesn't exist for ghosts. I mean, geography obviously does not exist for ghosts. They can be anywhere and everywhere all at once. So it's like, why, if he died out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, would he be seen back in town or whatever? Why would he be seen traversing the bridge of a ship in 1977, and so on and so forth. It's because, or is it because we're talking about a totally different dimension of existence, and these damn ghosts can go anywhere and everywhere they want to be. They feel they need to be.
Because they got business.
They got business. They got business, Mike. They sure as hell do got business.
But yeah, it's that's the thing about the tragedy of a tormented soul. If that's what he is, I mean, and how couldn't it be? Especially like the dog.
So I was muted, and now Mike is muting himself because his lovely protective Great Pyrenees is. She probably spotted someone walking down the sidewalk again.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure. But now I don't know what I was talking about.
Well, I was just throwing that out again about obviously ghosts aren't relegated to any particular locale. I mean, physical locations don't necessarily exist. I guess in that realm of existence.
It's dimensional and there's no time. There's no in a thought.
I mean, because Wallace Hartley's ghost is claimed to have been seen, like where he practiced his passion, his music, back in music halls, and obviously he perished out in the sea. Maybe is he living in eternity and doing what he loves, back, at his comfort zone, so to speak.
He's seen in
it's just my
record stores all over the place. Sorry. The electronics section at Walmart.
This is usually a surefire sign that Mike has stopped for the evening.
No, I am not. You know me. I get to this point where the tragedy it overtakes the levity, and
okay.
I'm just kidding.
True.
I'm just kidding. But no, this is a fascinating story, and I don't know. Even if, like you say, even if 1% of UFO sightings were real, it's the same thing with things like this with the Titanic. If just a fraction or a small part of these things are actually happening, or the Captain Smith all over the place.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's huge. I mean, it's real. It's a real thing. The energy is there. The negative energy that builds everything that goes on with it and what people experience to this day.
Mike, this is, by the way, this is Christopher Walken in The Crow's Nest.
Yeah. Yo, where's the binoculars? Where's the glasses? Yo! Okay, I'm done.
Oh, God dang it.
He choked a little bit on something.
Yep, coughing fit. Yeah, we will wrap it up here in a couple minutes. I've been desperately searching for the story, but I can't find it right now. But we've shared it before. But the true story of the woman who had she had her. Why am I drawing a blank on what it's called? She had her reading, Mike. She was on her her honeymoon with her husband, and she decided to get a reading done. Her palms read. Why am I drawing a blank on what they're called?
A medium, psychic medium?
A medium, psychic, maybe. Yeah.
Psychic reading?
But she was told, she was warned of a disaster in the making. This ship obviously sinking, deaths. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing an absolute blank on. I apologize for bringing it up, but it's an utterly fascinating story. If you want to dive into it, please do, because I'm drawing a blank on it. I'm not giving it justice. But it's so intriguing because basically what she was told in her session, her sit down, whatever you want to call it, came to be real. It was true. It could be interpreted as true, I should say, but I don't know, man. It kind of lends a little credence to some of those quote unquote wacky mediums out there. I mean, there's got to be some legitimacy behind some of them, right? I mean, if there wasn't a a true occurrence at one point or another, people wouldn't try to mimic it by being fakes themselves. They wouldn't try to be frauds themselves. They wouldn't try to build a living off of something that actually hasn't happened at one point or another, in my feeble way of looking at it. I don't know if that makes sense to you right now, Mike. It's something that was witnessed. I'm talking about as an example, like maybe a psychic reading that came to be proven as real. Then there's a legit fraud out there who's going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to make my money doing that same crap right there. But I'm not a legit person. I'm not an honest person. So I'm going to bring down the quote unquote legitimacy of an actual legit psychic because I'm a fraud myself and I'm just making a buck off of it. Now, I'm saying, in my opinion, it's 10 to 1 frauds to a legit, maybe more, 50 to 1, 100 to 1. But there's always a legit one out there. And the long ass point I'm trying to make is that there has to be even if it's a tiny, tiny little infinitesimal tidbit of reality out there for these frauds to base their fraudulent behavior upon in order to try and rip off, naive, desperate people sometimes. It had to have happened at one point.
Right. Wow. I thought we were starting a whole new podcast.
Sorry,
episode.
I lost you. I did. I'm saying people are going, shut up, Patrick. You're long-winded enough as it is. Start talking again.
I'm just kidding. You put the point across. Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's what we were just agreeing on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
All right.
I agree.
I think you're just being nice to me right now. That's
I am turning myself around and being
okay. Whatever.
Not joking now. Yes.
Well, as Computer Mike would say,
enough of that.
Yeah, it's time to wrap it up, Mike. We could go on forever, but yeah, this has ended up being a pretty long episode, which is cool. We used to specialize in multi-hour episodes, but I don't know if that's the way to go anymore. So
that got us nowhere.
It got us nowhere. Mike, this has been a blast. Thank you for making it work tonight, and good to see you again in all legitimacy. It's always fun time hooking up with you and recording this thing we call the Paranomaly Zone. Any final thoughts, Mike, on tonight's discussion? Any final thoughts on anything in general?
The discussion, the Titanic is it's fascinating as always, and like we said, will continue to be. Hey, let's bring up more stuff if it can be done, and there might be more questions answered. Who knows? Oh,
agreed. I'm sure we'll talk about it again sometime in the future. God be willing, we're still doing this years down the road. Yeah, I'm always willing to talk about it. I mean, we barely scraped the surface as per usual, but it is time to call it a night for tonight's episode. Still need a damn name. So when we wrap it up and I'm editing the show and I'm putting it all together, Mike, let's text each other a couple ideas of where we should. Because I don't want to call it a couple of things because there's legit like books called.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Those exact phrases. So I want to go that way. Anyways, no one cares about that. Mike, it's been a blast. Thank you so much, my friend. Say hi to Mary for me. Until next time, Mike, what do our paranormal pals need to do?
Everybody, peace out.